The Internal Revenue Service announced today that Maine's $450 winter energy relief payments will not be subject to federal tax. The commissioner of Maine's Department of Administrative and Financial Services had written a letter urging the IRS to not tax the payments. Last week, the IRS had verbally informed Maine Revenue Services that those payments, issued from January through March this year to nearly 900,000 Mainers, would be subject to federal taxes. But in a statement today, the IRS assured Maine residents those payments would not be subject to federal tax. The IRS said it had communicated that to state officials to eliminate any confusion.